I'm pretty much a libertarian.
Just leave me alone, get out of my way, let me do my thing.
I'm for the politics to be put aside.
We are the people of Mercury. I am your interplanetary host, Travis Montgomery. These views reflect one planet and one planet alone. Hello and welcome to Mercury's Cast. I am your host, Travis Montgomery. Today we are setting all the politics, current events, and technological stuff aside, although we might get into some technology with our guest here who has a background in a lot of what's going on, as well as being a resident near Houston, Texas, which has been obliterated by Hurricane Harvey. Houston and much of the surrounding areas. I've saw some pretty gruesome stuff in Port Arthur. This is the worst natural disaster that I can recall in my lifetime. A lot of turmoil is going down there. A lot of misplaced people. There's been a couple dozen deaths. But for now, let me welcome the guest to the program, Wes Clayburn. Did I say your name correctly?
Yes, that's right.
So, Wes, why don't you tell us where you live and how close to Houston you are?
I live in Richmond, Texas, which is about 20 to 25 miles southwest of Houston. My subdivision that I live in is about 0.3 of a mile from the Brazos River, which is what is the flooding that we're dealing with right now. And I don't know if you can really see, but I'll pan out here. This is my driveway I'm sitting in.
Oh shit!
And this is my street.
You can't even see the pavement.
Yeah, it's probably, if you walked out to the middle of the road, it would be probably about waist deep. Luckily, our foundation, we're hoping and praying that our foundation is high enough to where when the river crests at about, I think they're predicting by 12 o'clock tomorrow, it's going to reach its peak. And then after that, we're going to be on a slow drain. So we're probably going to be flooded in for about another 3 or 4 days.
Okay, let's bookmark that. Houston, I'm just going to do a quick little facts about Houston that might be prevalent. Houston's the fourth most populous city in America, 2.3 million people documented, 667 square miles. It's home to the Texas Medical Center and the NASA Space Center. Do you know, are all those still doing okay?
I think the Med Center, they did receive some flooding, but after Tropical Storm Allison about 16 years ago, they moved all their backup generators to the roofs, I guess. And so there hasn't been that much interruption as far as the Med Center. Now there's other hospitals around town that were either without power or that did flood, but all the reports I've heard now are hospitals are up and working. There's just a huge need for doctors and nurses.
I can imagine. The Texas Medical Center, that's one of the state-of-the-art facilities in the country, if not the world, isn't it?
It is. It's the leading cancer research center in the world. We have the finest doctors, nurses that are in that are around.
Interesting story. My wife is a consultant for LuLaRoe, and they've been doing a fundraiser for a little boy that has cancer, and what part of the fundraiser was to raise money for him to move to either Houston and to that facility, or Germany was one of the other ones, but they couldn't go because of the flooding. So they actually went somewhere in Arizona that has a comparable facility, but they were supposed to go to Houston, and those plans got canceled.
Yeah, any kind of living facilities, or I say, apartments and stuff like that are around the Med Center now. There's two major bios that run through the Med Center. And basically, both of them flooded to the point to where they met each other.
Wow, and that's how Houston was kind of like a bayou town, or like I don't know.
We're the well, I mean, they call us the Bayou City. So I mean, everywhere you look is low lying areas. It doesn't take it really doesn't take much to flood. And you throw in 51 inches of rain and 50. I think they're the highest rain total I've seen so far is like 53 inches. You put that much water in any area, and you're just dealing with widespread catastrophic destruction.
Yeah, I heard some reports of 15 trillion gallons, which is like
that's what I heard.
And it's it's a basin. It's almost like a shallow bowl or something, and so it's just going to hold that water.
We're in the Brazos River Delta. So, I mean, we're, 500, 600 years ago. I mean, this was, all just, I guess, flooded areas anyway. And through urban sprawl and just everything else. I mean, once it rains here, the water channels down the roads. And the next thing you know, you've got high water situations.
That's crazy, man. Yeah. So what does it mean when the river crests? Does it have like tidal? Is it kind of like tides with the
Yeah, the normal flood or the normal river stage, I believe, is at 29 feet above sea level. Right now, it is at 54 point. I think last I saw 54.17, and it's expected to crest which is basically all the water up north of us. Is going to move through our area starting tomorrow at 12. It'll reach its highest point at 12 o'clock, and then hopefully within about 4 or 5 hours after that, we'll see a slow recession.
And you guys are preparing for the water level to rise where you're at.
Yeah, the water level is still rising. If you look at this stake right here, I put that stake there. I went kayaking around the neighborhood about 2 hours ago. I put that stake there, I'd say an hour and a half ago, 2 hours ago, and it's already crept up another 4 inches from there.
Wow. This was a Category 4, which is just about as bad as you can get. And not only that, with other storms, when they hit land, they tend to kind of dissipate really fast. But this one didn't do that. It kind of hung around right on the coast and had winds up to 145 miles an hour. So where were you at when all this was going down? Did you just stay at home and kind of hope for the best? Or what were you doing when the worst of it was coming down?
When the worst of it hit, I would say was Saturday night. And we had, of course, I work outdoors, so there was nothing for us to do, and my wife, she actually took steps on Wednesday, and went to the grocery stores and got a bunch of water, a bunch of food, anticipating, being without power. Then they started saying, that it was going to produce up 25 to 50 inches of rain, and here in Houston, it's kind of a joke that the weatherman really doesn't know what he's talking about, because we live right on the coast. So our weather changes just daily or by the hour. And so okay. I don't think anybody, when they saw the high end prediction at 50 inches, I think a lot of people were thinking that, where they're saying that just so that if it gets close to 50 inches, well, they were right. And if not, well, they got everybody prepared. I, for one, never in my mind would I have thought that it would have rained like it did. It started raining here Thursday night and did not stop until midday Monday. And we would have periods where we would get 1 inch an hour, sometimes 3 inches an hour. There was one band that came through where we got about 8 inches in 1 hour. And through that all, where I live, we drain perfectly. But then we started flooding on I'd say around Monday afternoon. Water started coming up from our drains, and we don't have, in my neighborhood, it drains directly into the Brazos River. and there is no backflow preventer on our drainage to be able to be closed. And so,
for anyone that might not know, what's a backflow preventer?
it is just like it's almost it's a big gate valve that just as you screw it down, it closes the pipe. And basically cuts the pipe off, so no water can go out, but yet no water can come in.
Okay. And is there a sensor switch, or is this done manually?
It can be done manually, and it can be automated as well. The neighborhood right down the street from me, which is about a mile down from us, they lost power to their plant, so they had to actually get divers to go down there and actually get in the water and do everything manually, which took them a very long time. And this neighborhood, flooded rapidly, and they were doing high water rescues just right down the street from us. And on my street, it was dry, but a mile down the street, people were getting a foot of water in their houses.
So they had scuba divers go down into the flooding to check out what was going on?
Yes.
That is crazy. That is something like something that you never, that sounds like a movie almost, you know?
It is. I don't know what those guys get paid, but obviously it's not enough, because to jump into something like that, that takes a certain part of the anatomy to grow really large.
Yeah, some big balls.
There we go. Okay, I didn't know if I could say that.
We're not a family-friendly show, so we could talk about whatever we want.
Oh, cool. All right, good deal.
But some of them are family-friendly. Some of them. So going back into all this instrumentation and stuff, let's talk about what you do for work, because this directly correlates with what's going on. You design irrigation systems, or?
Well, I do. I design commercial, residential irrigation systems, and also do a lot of drainage work. Not storm drainage, but just draining large properties, and so. And also, I'm what you call a backflow prevention assembly tester, which is basically I test the devices that are on commercial and residential buildings that keep the water supply from anything downstream of the backflow preventer from being able to be actually backflushed into the water supply. So I do a lot of work with keeping the water safe and clean.
Okay, that's cool. So you can't, and this river that is by you, it's a freshwater river, or is it saltwater?
It's freshwater.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but one of the problems with, and I don't want to spend very much time on Katrina at all, but it's a big problem when salt and freshwater mix. Can that be a problem?
I don't have much knowledge to that.
Okay. Okay, well, so that river by you, it's expected to flood even more coming up here shortly.
By 12 o'clock tomorrow, it'll be about 9 inches higher than it is right now.
And that's going to be pretty drastic.
That spells a lot of problems for a lot of people. For my neighborhood, it looks like we're going to, my house looks like I'm going to stay dry as far as water getting over the foundation. But a neighborhood right down the street from me, not the one I was talking about flooding, but just another neighborhood, they ended up in a really, really fast evacuation this morning around 3 a.m. Water started coming up on them just rapidly. It started coming up out of the drainage, and within an hour, their streets had a foot. Some streets had a foot or more water, and some streets had up to 3 feet of water.
Wow! And that's kind of what that backflow prevents any water from going too far out, or coming back out of the drain.
Yeah, it basically it just takes the pipe, it clamps it off, it clamps the drainage off. It doesn't allow water in, doesn't allow water out.
Huh. Okay. Do you know anybody that lives in Houston? I'm sure you do.
Oh yeah, I've got a lot of friends in Houston.
Can you tell us any of their stories of what happened to them and what kind of conditions they're facing?
It's most everybody I know that lives what we call inside the loop, which is loop 610, which circles the city. Most people I know that live inside the loop that were not living in apartments above the first floor or have received like significant damage. We're talking some places 3 foot of water in the houses, some places 8 foot of water in the houses.
Wow. Yeah, I was noticing the Houston freeway system. It seems pretty efficient. Like there's one that goes all the way around, and then there's a bunch that go like right through the middle of it.
Yeah, we to have a city as with as many people as we have, the highways are fairly, our traffic always sucks, but I mean there's easy ways to move around, but when this water started coming up fast, when those main thoroughfares were shut off, that pretty much crippled the city right there. That's what put everybody. I mean, that's what put it into all these high water or swift water rescues.
So now, was it the Houston Ship Channel which caused most of the flooding, or was it just the sheer amount of water?
Just the sheer amount of water, and the bayous that we do have that are designed to handle a lot of this watershed. They were inundated so quickly that the water reaching levees, water started just filling the ditches, and once it got to the point to where it had nowhere to flow, it just started going from flowing to filling. So it's just like pouring a glass of water.
Yeah.
And there's one bayou that's close to me. It's actually a reservoir. It's called the Addicks Reservoir. And it is a huge watershed, and in the history, I think it dates back 80 years. It's never topped its levees. And they started breaching levees last night, which was creating more flooding, which a lot of neighborhoods had already gone through their flooding. Water had receded. Folks were going in, cleaning up, doing what they could do to get back in their houses. And once the levees started giving, or not giving, but started topping the levees, then they were back back to square one.
Now let's get into some of maybe a little bit of the politics side of it. Were people in Houston told not to evacuate?
The governor Abbott said that it would be best to evacuate, and then Mayor Sylvester Turner in Houston said that it was not necessary to evacuate. And let me explain to you, the last time I ever tried to evacuate the city during a major storm, I went to New Braunfels, which is pretty close to Austin. And which on a normal day, it's a 2.5 hour drive. It took me 18 hours. And if there would have been a mass evacuation, in the time frame that we had, because the storm was predicted to be a 1 or a 2 at landfall. It wasn't expected to be a 4. And then once it kicked up to a 4, there's no way you can put 4.5 million people on the road. That would have created a larger loss of life than what we're looking at right now, which I think the last total I saw is 31 to 33 people so far, and of course they're gonna be finding more people. But that was the reason why I decided not to evacuate my family. My wife and I sat down and discussed it, and I was like, if we're on the road and we get caught in a high water situation, I mean, you're done, you're gone.
And we saw that. We saw that also. The pictures of the roads in Houston and in the surrounding areas. I mean, you can it was almost hitting the damn freeway signs.
Yeah, there were places underwater. I've lived here for I've been here for 20 years, and in my 20 years, I have seen a lot of flooding because it does flood here, but I haven't seen water come up to where it's touching the bottom of an overpass, which you're talking from the bottom of that overpass to the top of the underpass. 30, 40 feet, and these are just bowls. And once they start filling, there's really no. And the generators and the pumping systems that they have, they're submerged too. So everything's inoperable. So you're at the mercy of whatever nature throws at you.
Yeah, it's again, it sounds like a movie. Like, you hear of a place flooding and it's 5 feet, maybe 10 feet, but anything above that just doesn't seem real. And it's hard for me sitting over here to imagine what that can do to a town. But, you've actually seen it firsthand. You look at the pictures and it's still, and then there's some fake pictures floating around too. I fucking hate people that want to take a crisis like this and to try and get a picture to go viral, like a shark on a freeway or something like that. Like, get the hell out of here. Like, where's your motivation at?
There was some pictures floating around because I mean this I think has to be the first major weather event that's ever unfolded live on social media, which I trusted social media more than I did what I could get on air. Just because it was people I know, people in the situation, people going through, what they were going through. But there were pictures floating around of Bush Intercontinental Airport with American Airlines, their planes on the tarmac underwater, which was scaring the shit out of a lot of people because a lot of people, they see it and people see something, they hear something, they think, oh my God, it's got to be true. And then, that just creates, panic in people who are already in a panic state.
Yeah, not cool. Not cool. But there has been reports of some misplaced wildlife during this situation. Have you heard anything about like gators or snakes or anything like that?
Oh yeah, I've got at the end of my street, and you may not be able to see it because it's dark. But at the end of the street, right there, there's what's called Jones Creek. Well, Jones Creek has alligators in it anyway.
Really?
And so when these waters back up, I mean, they're going to do just like everybody is trying to do, get to higher ground. So there are neighborhoods everywhere that are dealing with alligators, just swimming down the street, ending up in the front yard. There was a friend of mine in a neighborhood called Sienna Plantation. There was about an 8-foot alligator that was just right on his front porch, just sitting there because of the water had pushed him all the way up to the porch.
Yeah, they don't always want to be in the water. They want to chill on land too sometimes, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, they have to get out to warm up, and if it I guess being cold blooded or whatever, don't know too much about their anatomy or whatever, but they they do have to get out and sun themselves. They have to be able to get out, soak in sunlight in order to regulate their body heat.
Yeah, being cold blooded, and I don't know, I'm not a marine biologist or whatever you would need to be, but that's scary. You could have one on your front porch too if the chance ended up being that way. I've slept every day. I've slept on my since Saturday. I've slept on my couch. I've stayed up till 7 in the morning. I'll sleep till 10 in the morning just to get some sleep, just to make sure that number one. I mean, there are people out here that are looting things. A neighbor or somebody in my neighborhood, somebody kicked in her back door this afternoon. Luckily, she wasn't home, but. And she has dogs, so the dogs startled whoever it was, and they ran off. So
it's not only do you have to deal with what Mother Nature's throwing at you, you got to deal with some asshole who thinks they can come and get your shit that you've worked all your life to build.
Yeah, and that's another dark aspect of these natural disasters is that some people try and take advantage, but for all the people looting, I don't think Texas is the one that you want. I don't think that's the one.
Yeah, I mean,
try.
Pretty much everybody in the state, if they're not legally carrying a gun, they're illegally carrying one because it's a very well armed state. And it just kind of blows my mind that someone would even think to try to kick in somebody's door, not knowing if they're home or not. I mean, I've got enough guns in my gun safe to protect the Alamo right now, and I've got one, unfortunately, that I have to have up under my bed right now, just for this situation right here.
I'm guessing shotgun.
Yes, Mossberg 535.
I think you fixed it, Darien.
I'm in.
Hey man, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going, dude? Hope you're.
It's going all right.
Was it your sound settings?
Yeah. The Google Hangouts had my sound settings and all that blocked for some reason. I thought it was my new lapel microphone, but thank God that's not the case.
It looks like Facebook and Google Hangouts are in cahoots because you keep getting banned on Facebook.
Yeah, I keep getting kicked off Facebook. They know I'm the KOC. They know I created the KOC, and they don't like that shit, so they're kicking me out.
Well, this is Darien and Wes. We're talking to Wes about all the dark situation that's going on in Texas right now.
Yeah.
Wes, would you say that like the most of Texas got flooded, most of the land area?
I would say everything from Houston to Lake Charles, Louisiana, was pretty much underwater. I'd say 70% underwater. I don't know how many square miles that is, but it's probably a 3.5 hour drive from my house to Lake Charles, Louisiana, and they're actually recovered. Well, they're going through rescue operations right now as we speak, like Houston was just a couple of days ago.
So, which brings us to the human side of these type of things. Well, with what we've seen going on from, obviously the devastation was real. People were stranded. People are losing their lives. People don't have food or water. And you've got people that think that America are completely racist, and people like Antifa or Nazis is what the country's really like. But
yeah,
what we're seeing now is in Houston is a very diverse place, if not one of the most diverse towns in America. What we're seeing now is people of all different kinds, all different backgrounds coming together. And I think that's a human side of it. I think that's kind of a beautiful thing with all the shit that's been going on in the media recently. They would like to tell you that America is a racist place, or especially like white people don't like other people, or just crap like that. And now what we're seeing is just on a human level, we're seeing people come together. And I think that's, for what it's worth, a beautiful thing.
So I don't know if it's coming through good now. I got a new microphone I'm testing out.
I can hear you.
I think that what we're seeing happen with the response in Houston, as tragic as it is, I think that the response that we're seeing from all different sorts of people coming together, it's a true display of the American spirit. I mean, we pulled through and pulled together to keep our communities afloat when shit gets tough. But unfortunately, I think sometimes that's what we need. And when we live such comfortable lifestyles like we do in the U.S., unfortunately, every now and then, we need something that really reminds us that we're all on the same team. And that sounds a little harsh, but
no, I like it. I totally agree with you. And we got to pull whatever good we can out of this. We do live in the best country in America, and we've gotten so comfortable that we don't know what a struggle really like is most of the time. So we have to create these struggles.
Yeah. But it is pretty tragic to see what's happening in over in Houston and throughout Texas. One of my younger nieces, like 6 years old, she had no idea because she's not on the internet. She had no idea what was going on until she saw the news like last night or the night before that, and she was shocked. She was blown away. She was like, "Is that really happening? Is that really happening to people's houses?"
Yeah, I mean the way that people have come together, and I strictly stayed away from watching any kind of national coverage of this storm. There's a picture going around of a rescue that just some people banded together on a street, and they're holding each other's hands in a human chain to get to an old man's car whose car ran off into a ditch, and he was standing on the top of his truck. And this human chain gets they're holding their hands together, and in this chain you've got black, white, brown, yellow, purple, green. It didn't matter. It was let's put our hands together. Let's save this person. This person's human. This person's worth it. There wasn't any kind of there wasn't any kind of he's white, we'll just let him drown, or no, that's a black person, their lives,
or that's a Trump supporter, leave
exactly.
that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, he's got to be a Nazi.
Right. That's it.
So that is something that I have liked. It's been a breath of fresh air to see people come together like that and just show that everybody that thinks, America's full, and the Charlie Hebdo one where they're saying people are Nazis in Houston, that's just laughable. I mean, there might be 40% of white people, let alone how many Nazis are you going to find in the 40%?
Well, and I think it's a lot of playing into the popular narrative. I mean, hell, it gets it gets ratings. It sells papers. I mean, keep the narrative going, and keep folks who who are going to believe believe your bullshit. Just keep them fed a steady line of bullshit, and then at the end they think they win. But I think this has showed us that politics, to me, I think the whole racism thing is just a immediate thing blown out of proportion. It's a way to separate people into groups, and then you can tell each group why the other group hates them. And then, that way you can separate them and you can divide them, and then you can control them.
Exactly. We went over this a lot in the last episode. And so I'm glad that you're bringing this up as a refresher course, and I know we don't even really know each other. So, and you got it. It's a media ploy. That's all it is. Media is a tool of propaganda. And they're even trying to spin, Trump this. And, it's just, it gets like there's a place and a time for politics, and there's a place and a time to where these people need help. Like, shut the hell up and donate, or shut the hell up and spread the word, what are you doing? And people that CNN clip, I'm sure both of you have seen it, where the lady in CNN's the lady just got to a shelter and she's there with their kid, and they're both wet and cold, and she's like, and you still have the mic in my face. Why are you trying to interview us at our most vulnerable or at our worst time?
Yeah, CNN really dropped the ball on this. They were telling people put things in your window if you want to get rescued. Well, of course you're going to put a sign in your window. They're trying to get in, and they're trying to look like good guys and covering it. They're really showing their true colors, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean just the way that, and I'll start watching some national media now that we're just dealing with having to wait till water recedes. I'll start watching some stuff. I didn't want my blood pressure to raise higher than it already was, but for someone to criticize.
Sorry, Darren, turn your ceiling fan off. Turn your ceiling fan off, because I think we're getting some bleed through. If you're going to turn up your mic, something will work out later. Folks were trying to say, well, Trump didn't get out and he didn't meet any victims.
there were high water rescues still going on when he got here. The last thing they needed to do was pull resources and able to give him the protection that he needs. And when I hear stuff like that, it's just like, are you kidding me? What was he going to do? Throw sandbags anyway? I mean, that's not his job. I mean, his job's come down here, reassure us, say, hey, you know what? We're behind you. We're whenever the floodwaters are gone, we're going to be here to rebuild, and that's all anybody wants to hear. Look, it's a tragedy, but damn it, we can't sit here and suck on our thumbs after it's done. I mean, we got a fucking city to rebuild. I mean, a huge. I mean, 4.5 million people. The infrastructure alone that's been damaged is going to take years and years to recover from. And
I'm sorry. Finish.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, it takes the attention away from what's really going on. Whether Trump goes, whether he doesn't, he's actually damned if he doesn't. He's damned if he don't. But the fact of the matter is, there are Americans suffering right now, and that should be the most important thing. Not, if he did this or that, or someone. Yeah, we can hear you, man. Not if we could. What kind of shoes Melania is wearing?
Yeah, come on, man.
And it's like, you know how much resources it takes to get a president somewhere, and how you can't just show up anywhere unannounced at any given time because he's the president, and security and people, things got to be cleared, and it would be a waste of resources. But he did go to Austin, right?
He went. I believe he went to Victoria, which Victoria is about 120 miles south of here, and that's where Harvey first made landfall. Actually, Rockport, which is a real small community. So he went down there and then came up to Houston. Actually, he actually flew Marine One flew over my house, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. And then today, Vice President Pence, he was flying up and down the Brazos River and visiting. I mean, because there's a line of destruction 160 miles south of me, all the way to the Louisiana border. I mean, which is pretty much the whole Gulf Coast, Gulf Coast of Texas, and there's just too much devastation right now. I mean, just the rescue operations have to finish before anything can really be assessed.
It's crazy. Do you know anybody over in Port Arthur, or have you heard about what's going on over there?
Yes, I do. I've got a good friend. He was doing high water rescues in his little bass boat for the last 2 days. There was a nursing home in Port Arthur, which he was a pretty big part of, helping get the elderly victims there evacuated. And I think he went 20 hours straight, and then basically just kind of collapsed, and he had to go sit in an ambulance for a little while, and get help himself. I mean, people are out here working until they collapse. There's a picture going around of a Harris County sheriff's officer. He walks into to his precinct, and he sits down. And the next thing you know, he's doubled over, and he's just passed out because he's exhausted. And these guys that are out here doing the rescues, they don't know what happened to their home. They don't know what happened to their family. They're cut off from their family. All they know is the devastation in front of them, and they're just busting their ass to do it. And that, I mean, to me, I originally moved here from Mississippi. And so
Yazoo?
Yazoo City, yes sir. And
I found you on Facebook, by the way.
Oh, okay, cool. And so I moved here, and I mean, it really is. It's a different attitude here. It is we will. You know what? We'll do it. We'll take care of it. We'll take care of our own.
Texas strong.
I mean, for real. I mean, it's now more than ever.
And And we always knew it, but I think it's really starting to shine through now. It's sayings like "Don't mess with Texas," and you guys really got it going on. If I had to move out of California, I'm in Bakersfield, California, by the way.
That's a lot of good country music has come from Bakersfield.
That's right, Merle Haggard.
Yes, sir.
And Buck Owens. I'm not really, but I just know because of all the street names. All the major streets are named after country music stars, old country music stars. Excuse me. But Texas might be a destination sometime later on down the line.
Man, Brad, come on down. Bring your money with you. We'd love for you to spend it in this state. Because every dollar in this state that's spent, I mean, it just goes to help everybody. I mean, and
California
and plus,
is such a communist dictatorship. It is unreal.
Hey, no state income tax.
Yeah, that's crazy. I get so much taken out of my check, and I'm an electrician, and I make pretty good money. But I wish I could just bring some more of it home. Yeah,
it's depressing. I've got a 19-year-old daughter who just started working, and she's now going from the socialist ideals of everybody should have everything for free to why the hell do they take this much money out of my check? Like, well, sweetheart, that's why Daddy bitches all the time. I mean it's. But I know that's a topic for another discussion.
Right. Oh yeah. It's as soon as they get at that age, they think that they could save the world by handing out everyone's money, and then when you get a little older, you figure out that it doesn't really work like that.
Exactly.
Have you heard anything about the Arkham chemical plants?
The only thing that I have that I've really heard is that there's been 2 explosions, but they still have that 1.5 mile evacuation zone around it. And the interviews that I'm seeing with the folks from the company, I mean, even down to their OEM officials are not really. They're saying, oh, it's just like breathing in smoke. Well, I don't think it's like breathing in smoke if you're if you're evacuating people from a mile and a half away. Now that place got 6 feet of water in it. Yeah. And I mean, and they the chemicals they have are extremely volatile and have to be kept at a certain temperature. And now that we're done with all this, with all the rain, we're back to we're back to being 100 degrees and 90% humidity. So it's it's hot as hell.
Yeah. Did your electricity, because that's what happened at the plant, the electricity went out and even their backup generators went out. Did your electricity was it ever affected?
I lost electricity. I lost it Friday night for about 2 hours. Luckily I have a generator. I've always had a generator, but I worked extra hard Thursday night when I got home from work till about 2 a.m. to get it running, because it sat up for 2 years.
Oh yeah, you got it. Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know.
And it's really strange to look in our neighborhood and you see nothing but water and everybody's lights are on. But they did cut our sewer yesterday. Well, they didn't cut it. The lift station that's right outside my neighborhood is submerged. So we've had to make a makeshift bathroom in my backyard, so to speak, because nothing. You can't flush. So there's that is about the most I guess unsanitary thing that we're dealing with, other than the bacteria in the water.
Right. Well, nobody wants to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
We're all used to just flushing the toilet and having it work. That's not cool. I hope that gets fixed quick enough. What are the risks of the bacteria in the water, and how does this happen when it starts mixing with certain? Is it when it mixes? Is it mixing with the sewage system and that's getting mixed all in together, or is it chemicals from other plants or
no? From the just from the damage to the infrastructure, I mean, there's all kind of breaks in sewers, stuff like that. So, I mean, you have I think E. coli is what they're saying is about the worst pathogen in the water right now that you can deal with, and then basically it's just swamp water is what it is, and then it's mixed with everything that's on the streets, and it just creates just a nasty. I mean, the water out on my street is red, not red, not the color. I mean, they call it red dirt. It's more of a really thick brown looking color. It looks like chocolate milk. Huh. I have no choice but to get out in it because I'd say more than half of my neighborhood has evacuated. So I've got people, calling me and saying, "Hey, can you go check my house? Can you get pictures?" Because there's some kind of new insurance law, and I'm not sure what it is, but it takes effect tomorrow, which affects people in their flood insurance. Well, I couldn't make a claim because I don't have any water in my house now, but that may change tonight if the river does go up any more than expected. But yeah, I mean, it's I kind of got off track there.
No. Everything's relevant.
But yeah, I mean, you have no choice but to just get out in this water. And I mean, I just saw on the news where there was a firefighter. Their firefighter engine was submerged over to the port where they screw the hose in. This dude just takes a deep breath, grabs the hose, goes underwater for like 30 seconds, and gets it hooked up. And he's coming up out of the water, and he's trying to spit as much water out as he can to just get it off of his face. So yeah,
you just don't know. You don't know.
Oh, it's wonky. Yeah.
So you said you had to go kayak over around the corner earlier today.
Mm-hmm.
What were you doing?
I went to my brother-in-law and my sister-in-law live in the neighborhood, and they evacuated. So I went over to their house this morning to clean out their freezers because they turned their main breaker off before they left, and so I had to go over there and clean that out for them. So when they get back, it's not going to smell like somebody died in their house.
You took it over to your house and put it in your freezers, or?
I did. Hey, my brother-in-law, he had some steaks in there. Some other things. I told him, I can't promise you the steaks, but I'll have the other frozen stuff ready for you.
That's funny. And you hunt yourself too, so you might have some of your own meat, or?
Oh, I do. I've got enough deer meat in my freezer. If I could keep my generator going and we lose power, I mean, I could live in this house for a year if I needed to. Nice.
I've had deer, but not from someone who I know that's shot it. I always wanted to try that. It's really good eating.
Oh, it's good. It's delicious.
So what precautions are you going to take to make sure water doesn't go in your house? Is there sandbags, or are you going to put stuff in front of the door, or?
We've got towels up under the where the garage door is in case it tries to come in there, and then if it gets over my threshold, then nothing you put down is going to keep it out. Because at that point, it's just let it in, because it's going to come in either way, and it's no sense in spending that energy for a failed result.
Huh. Well, I think we've gone over a lot of stuff. We usually go an hour here, and we're at about an hour now. I would just want to appreciate you taking your time to come on and tell us your story and tell us what you've seen and what you know. It's definitely one of the worst things I've ever seen happen to America. I really appreciate you coming on. Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Well, I really appreciate you having me on. If you tell us first ever kind of interview type thing I've done. So, but no, I'd like for everybody out there to know. I mean, I mean, this was something that was of biblical proportions. We're talking. I think there was an estimated $190 billion so far. I mean, we haven't even seen floodwaters go down in most places. It's devastating down here. But it's Texas. We're Texans. All we got to do is, man, let this water recede. Let us get our work boots on. Let us get out there. Let us rebuild this shit, and we'll make it bigger and better. And next time another storm like this comes along, we'll be ready.
That's cool, man. That's very inspiring to hear you say that. And as for your first interview, I think you did very well. You did great, man.
Well, thank you.
Maybe in two weeks, maybe 3 weeks, we'll get you to come back on for an update.
Yeah, please do, and go ahead and send me a request on Facebook, whatever, and feel free to contact me anytime you want to, man.
I'll do that. What I do is I take the YouTube audio and I put it in podcast format. I'll leave this video up, but I'll have an edited version of the podcast, and I'll send you that as well.
Okay. Well, hey, can you email me the YouTube link? I'm not a very tech savvy person, so if you could email me the link, I can click on that because my wife is like, she's upstairs and she's like, I want to hear it. I want to hear what you're talking about.
Well, she could have tuned in live, but for next time.
She's upstairs with my son.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you the YouTube link for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, once again, I do appreciate it, man. We're gonna get by. I'll leave you with this one last thing. A friend of mine told me yesterday. He said, when this is all said and done, there's gonna be a monument built, and it's gonna be a redneck in a bass boat with his hand stretched out, trying to help someone.
Yeah, somebody in a pontoon boat coming over from over down south.
Yeah, so these uneducated rednecks that you hear about, well, they're not so bad when they show up in a bass boat.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to touch more on that, but I think we got it. I think we got the meat and potatoes of it.
All right, man. Well, y'all have a good night, and we'll look forward to talking to you again.
For sure. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Do you like